Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. This video is brought to you by First Detachment Nutrition. Battle tested, expert formulated. Use discount code AB10 at checkout for 10% off. All right, folks, Big Paul here today with a contest prep update. I am 15 weeks out. It's a little over 15 weeks. 14 and a half weeks out from Masters Nationals in Pittsburgh, PA. My picks were from the 15 weeks out, so we'll wait, look at that. But anyway, besides the point, I wanted to give you an update on where I'm at, what's going on. This is kind of the boring part of prep. The first 4 weeks or so is really sort of a transition into prep from the off season. I didn't really do much this off season, but anyway, we're going to dig into everything in just 1 second. All right, so my vitals and health, update on everything there. Fasted weight didn't change. I was 255, but I'm not too worried about that. People get hyper-focused on the scale, and I'm not saying that the scale doesn't matter, but when you're throwing anabolics in the mix, sometimes it's hard to judge water, weight, glycogen retention, things like that. So you can actually be getting leaner and not losing weight. Sometimes losing weight is necessary. So it's really subjective. When I'm looking at clients and when I'm coaching people, I go by what the pictures look like. If I see improvements in the pictures, then I think that's a good thing. Now, if scale weight isn't changing and you still look like crap, then that's a problem. We've got a problem. We need to make changes to the diet. But I don't get hyper focused on the scale. It does matter to a certain degree. It is a data point. But at the end of the day, when you get on the stage at the end of contest prep, the judges don't know what your body fat percentage is. The judges don't know how much you weigh outside of what weight class you're in. They don't really care. They're not thinking about that when they judge you. What they're considering when they judge you is how your physique presents and looks on the stage. So when in contest prep, that's what matters to me the most. I don't get hyper-focused on the scale. Like, people ask me what I weigh when I get on stage. I don't know. Last year, I was like 238, 239. If I'm a few pounds less, a few pounds more this year, it doesn't really make any difference. It's what I look like when I get on stage. As long as those pics are at least the same or improved, I think I'll do okay. My daytime weight right now is around 261. The reason why I do fasted weight, people ask me why fasted weight, is because that's probably going to be the most consistent weight that you're going to get daily. You're going to be, water levels are going to be the lowest at that point. So water fluctuations from day to day, like my daytime weight can range anywhere from 260 to as high as 265 over this last week. Just depending on how many carbs I ate, what sodium I had, how much I drank. A gallon of water weighs 8 pounds. So considering that, and plus food, any inflammation that you might accumulate, whatever. But my daytime weight seems to be all over the place. My height, people ask me about my height all the time. I'm 6'1 3/4. I'm just a tad under 6'2". It's funny because when I was younger, I was more like 6'3", but now I'm more like 6'2". Blood pressure is 118/78. I posted a picture this week of my blood pressure up on Instagram, and it seemed to get a lot of attention. People were saying there's no way that my blood pressure is that, taking 1,700 or 1,800 milligrams of testosterone and 1,200 milligrams of primomasteron. I don't know what to tell you other than, yes, it is that. That's what it is. I check it daily. It goes up a little bit, it goes down a little bit, but it tends to stay in that range. That's just where it's at. And a lot of times when you see elevated blood pressure in people, it is from poor compound choices, eating a crap diet, and not doing cardio. So if you can control those variables, a lot of times you can keep the blood pressure relatively in control. I mean, to be honest with you, anything 130/80 and lower when you're on PEDs is probably about as good as it gets. That's typically what I see with people. It's somewhere around that range. But managing water retention is very important. You'll see a lot of guys that run crappy compounds like D-ball. And, and I do like DECA and MPP on occasion, but one of the downsides of DECA and MPP is water retention. And I have tended to lean away from those over the last year or so because of the side effects that I get from them and the water retention. Although I like DECA, it's probably my favorite compound for size. I don't like the side effects that come along with it. So I've been sticking with drier compounds now that I'm older. My fasted glucose is around 97, 98. People ask me all the time if it's going to be elevated from the HGH. Once again, I think this has a lot to do with diet and cardio. If you're eating a crap diet and you're not managing your food well and you're not doing cardio, it could get elevated from the GH. But I just have not seen that many people that get fasted glucose elevations from the GH unless there's something already going on, unless you're already pre-diabetic, and then it can get worse. Sleep has been 8 to 9 hours. I'm telling you, running these higher doses of GH, I am tired all the time, and I'm probably going to back down the dose a little bit. I'm going up to 15 a few times before a full bottle of generic a day, and I just end up being so damn tired I can't function during the workday. I don't get the hand numbness, and I suspect that is because I manage my water weight well. I don't have a lot of water retention. As far as health goes right now, my allergies have been bothering me this week. So if you hear me not breathing through not breathing very well, it's because I can't breathe through my nose. My nose is all stuffed up from allergies. I have a screwed up sinus pathway anywhere, passage, whatever you want to call it. But I have a deviated septum on top of it, and I have horrendous allergies. I hate taking allergy medicine because it makes me feel lethargic and I feel like it affects my performance in the gym, but I will take it if I need to. My pec is a little bit grumpy right now. My left pec, I don't know what I did to it. It was a year and a half ago, I think. I decided I was going to do some barbell presses just to impress people, and I threw 315 on just to see if I could still do it. And, I ground out like 12 or 15 reps. I was surprised myself. And I did another set and I felt something pop in my upper part of my pec. I don't know if it was some scar tissue or a tendon or I partially tore it or whatever, but there's definitely have been some weirdness in that pec, and I want to be careful not to tear it. So my pec was feeling a little off this week. You can always tell when something's off before you're going to have an injury. Hopefully nothing happens. I don't want to jinx myself. But I was careful with my pec this week. I wanted to make sure that I didn't screw anything up with my pec, so I backed off a little bit on chest training. Kept the weights a little lighter. Didn't go to failure. Kept the reps a little higher. Right now, I mean, I'll talk about this later, but the goal right now is to lose fat and not get hurt. All right, folks, I want to take a quick break from this episode to tell you about the new e-course that Kurt Havens and I have put together, The Scientific Principles of Anabolics and PEDs. This is the most comprehensive PED e-course ever put together with over 80 modules, including intros to PEDs, major steroid profiles, competitor off-season cycles, non-competitor cycles, contest prep cycles, HGH fundamentals, insulin fundamentals, side effect management, safer use concepts, fat loss agents, estrogen management, and advanced PED and hypertrophy science. It is the best course out there of its kind. Go check it out. Link is in the video description below. All right, so progress pics this week. This is this week's update. I need to shave my hair off and get a tan because it's hard to really assess where I'm at, but I'm definitely leaner than I started last off season going into prep. I think I was like 270 coming into prep last year. I've kept myself lighter this year. I didn't really follow a structured diet for the last 4 months. I just tried to eat clean-ish. I did have a few McDoubles here and there. But for the most part, I joke about the McDoubles, but for the most part, I eat a pretty clean diet. I honestly get tired of eating. I am the guy that has to force myself to eat. So this off season, I was probably under my calories, under my protein. So I've been back on the diet and following a structured plan now. I've been perfect since I started prep last week and a half or so, 2 weeks, whatever. Well, I guess it'll be 2 weeks. I started a little early. I started half a week early. on prep because I just get tired of eating. I thrive better on structure. But you can see I'm up front. I'm always leaner up front. And some people are put together this way, and I happen to be this way. I can still have love handles and have abs, and my legs seem to never get fat. I always have separation in my legs. I just don't carry a lot of fat in my legs. The place I carry my fat is in my back, my lower back. My back is the last place that comes in for me. You can see the side shot here. A little bit of fat at the bottom of my stomach. That'll come off. I'm not worried about that. That comes off pretty quickly. But I'm pretty lean for starting prep for me anyway. I don't, everybody's different. It's hard to tell from my back because it's so hairy. But you can see there's, I get the old man ass, but you can see that my glutes, it's hard to see here, but my glutes are separated a little bit. I can still see my hamstrings. I do have the fat here on my lower back. And I just don't carry definition in my back until I get very, very lean. The current diet, Justin did not change the diet this week. He said we're probably just going to ride this into 12 weeks out. This is sort of a soft start to the prep. Last year we did the same thing. I don't need that much time to get lean. I tend to drop. As soon as I throw in fat burners and trend, I seem to just drop weight rapidly. It comes off of me rapidly. Hopefully it'll be the same this year. Every prep is different, but I generally do not have a problem losing body fat. The issue with me is hanging onto muscle. My metabolism tends to run away sometimes. Very few people are like that. I have a few clients that I've seen that with, but I am lucky in that way. I don't have to do a ton of cardio. I don't have to diet hard for very long. Usually if I can diet hard for 8 weeks, I'm pretty good. And that's what we did last year. Justin pushed the fat burners and the diet from 12 weeks out to 4 weeks out. So there was about an 8-week period where we went hard with the diet and everything. And then we sort of backed off going into the show and let my body be fresh for the show. And probably the same approach this year. I'll leave it in Justin's hands, whatever he thinks is appropriate. But anyway, right now my medium days, I have 370 grams of protein, 425 grams of carbs, and 47 grams of added fat. No, I am not counting trace protein. No, I am not counting trace fats that are in the protein sources. I keep my protein sources as lean as I possibly can get. The primary protein sources I eat are chicken breast. As you can see here, I'll do, 3 meals of chicken breast. I have been doing a protein shake this year. I have not done protein shakes in the past because they upset my stomach. I've been working with Dante Trudell from True Nutrition to sort of figure out what protein agrees with me. And I found that it seems to be a combination of the micronized whey and egg whites that seem to agree with me the best. I have been trying to run some of the pea protein, but God, that stuff tastes awful. I just can't do it. I put a lot of fruit in my meal. You'll see a lot of pineapples, oranges, bananas, things like that. People always are mystified that I run fruit on a fat loss diet. They're like, doesn't fruit make you fat? I don't know where this idea that fruit makes you fat came from. I had fruit in all the way up until my show last year. I was talking to Wesley Vissers last week, and he eats fruit with pretty much every meal. I don't know. I just never seen many fat people that eat fruit. Right? Usually when you look at fat people, they're eating fried food and processed foods. They're not eating fruit and vegetables and rice and chicken. So I don't know where people got this idea that fruit makes you fat from. So you can see here, my protein sources are lean chicken breast. I do not 1 serving of 96% lean ground beef per day. I do 1 serving of protein powder per day. And sometimes I'll throw some cod in there. I haven't done that yet. When I get towards the end of prep, I'll throw the cod in. Cod's easy to get down. It's light. It's easy on the stomach, and there's basically no fat in the cod. But I try to keep the fats as low as humanly possible from the meat sources, because the fat from meat sources tends to be more saturated fat unless you're eating something like salmon. Beef can have a better fat profile just depending on if it were grass-fed, it changes, but it's hard to predict. You don't really know for sure. So I supplement in EFAs. The added fats are mostly EFAs. So I try to keep the EFAs supplemented in. I take one oil pill with each meal, whether it's fish oil. I alternate between fish oil or flax oil on top of the added fats that I have here. So there's an additional 1 gram. But the added fats you see here are almonds, walnuts, pine, olive oil, guacamole. That's typically nut butters. I don't do any processed nut butters. I get organic nut butters that don't have a lot of the processed nut butters will have palm oil in it. I try to stay away from palm oil. My high day, I do 1 high day per week. Total calories on that day is around 5,700. Protein's going to be a little higher on that day because we're pushing the carbs up. Carbs are protein sparing. And just simply, it's hard to eat that many carbs with the high protein as well. So I want things that are going to go down easy. Up to half of my carbohydrates from that day are simple sugars. I usually do orange juice, a whole food jam. I get my mom jam. It is organic. I will have some Captain Crunch. People laugh at me about the Captain Crunch, but that's just one. People are like, that's awful for you. So I do 1 serving of shitty breakfast cereal per week. I don't think 1 serving of shitty breakfast cereal per week is going to kill me. It's just something to keep me sane while I'm on contest prep. I actually look forward to that on the high day because I am a child and I like children's foods. But the rest are just pretty, the pie filling I get is an organic pie filling. It's just apples really with some sugar in it. And, so jam, Captain Crunch, OJ. Once in a while I'll do some candy, something like Swedish Fish or gummy bears, something like that. And at the end of the high day, there's an optional cheat meal. The first week I did not do a cheat meal. This week I did a light cheat meal. I had a burger and fries. Justin's rule in the cheat meals is 1,500 calories or less and have some sort of quality protein source. Usually I'll go for like a steak and a potato, or sometimes I'll go for kebabs for my cheat meal on contest prep, maybe sushi. And I keep the cheat meals lighter at the beginning of the prep, and then I'll make them a little heavier towards the end of prep because of my body is going to be depleted. Right now I'm getting plenty of calories in, so I don't have to worry about being depleted. I don't need the extra calories from the cheat meal. When I get towards the end of prep and I'm depleted and hungry, it can be a nice mental break, and it seems to have some metabolic benefit. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know if that's pseudoscience, but it certainly seems to rev my metabolism up a bit. Low days, I do 1 low day a week because I train 6 days a week. If I do, sometimes I'll take an extra day off, like if I'm feeling really beat up. I think last week I took a leg day off because my lower back was hurting. So I had 2 low days in that week. But low day calories are 3,180. That's as low as I get with my calories during the week right now. I will tell you, I start losing weight when I get below 3,800 calories. Usually, I'll start dropping weight and recomping. But really, the only thing that changes on the low day is just the carbs are lower. Everything else is pretty much the same. Current PEDs, I need to update this. This is incorrect. But right now, I'm doing testosterone 250 milligrams a day. I know people freak out when they hear that. I don't know what to tell you. This is the most I've ever run. For those of you that are wondering, I've never run it this high before. So this is a first for me. I'm splitting Primo and Masteron. People ask me why I run 2 DHTs. I don't know. I've done it in the past. It's always worked for me. Why change it now? They're like, why not Primo? Why not Masteron? One or the other. I usually split it. It's a little cheaper doing it that way. I also feel like, and it's probably just in my head, I feel like Primo keeps me a little fuller than Masteron does. I feel like I flatten out when I run Masteron, so I like to keep some Primobolan in there to keep me a little bit fuller. You probably would be just fine running one or the other. Usually with my clients, I don't tell them, I suggest that they just pick one or the other if they want to run just Masteron. So it's testosterone and a DHT derivative. And people ask me if I'm going to run my test this high all through prep, and the answer is no. Probably somewhere around 12 weeks out, we'll start shifting it. I'll pull up the DHT derivatives and pull the testosterone down. And generally, As I get deeper in the prep, that testosterone gets even lower and the DHT derivatives get higher to get a drier and harder look. When I interviewed Wesley Vissers last week, he talked about it and he said he does the exact same thing. So I think last year I pulled my testosterone down to something like 375 milligrams, maybe 500 milligrams, and then I pushed the DHTs up very high. Right now I'm running 0.5 milligram of anastrozole every other day. In the past, I haven't had to do that, but I suspect because I'm running the test so high, I have a little bit of aromatization. I tend to be a heavy aromatizer. I don't want to carry a bunch of water weight. I'm trying to keep the water weight off of me. People are nuts with the estrogen thing right now. It used to be back in the day, it was get estrogen as low as humanly possible. And now it's like, let it run wild and be a bloated mess. When my estrogen gets high, my blood pressure goes through the roof. I've seen it over and over and over. If I keep my estrogen in a reasonable range, like let's say 40, somewhere around there, maybe 50 at an outside, I tend to hold less water and my blood pressure stays in range. The HGH, this was the controversy of the internet this week. Everybody was freaking out when I said I run 15 units of HGH. They're like, that's why your head's so big, dude. You know, what are you doing, man? My head has always been big. I used to ride motorcycles when I was younger. And in high school, they did not make a motorcycle helmet big enough for my gigantic head. I remember I had to special order a triple XL motorcycle helmet for riding dirt bikes. They had no such helmet. I had to special order it. My head has always been gigantic. Maybe there's been some changes in facial structure. I don't know. But this is the highest I've ever run GH. I've only been on this for a few weeks at 15 units. I have noticed at the 15 units that I do lean up at that. My sleep is really good. At that, I get no hand numbness. I haven't had anything, but I think I am going to lower it down. I'm going to switch to pharma grade HGH soon. We will see. I don't know if I can tolerate the 15 much longer because it makes me so damn tired. I'm falling asleep at my desk during the day. That's the major side effect I get from HGH at that high. I've always run it. The highest I've ever really run it is around 9 units. People freak out. I put a post up on Instagram this week. If you look at Serostim, the therapeutic dose of Serostim is 18 units. I don't know where people came up with these arbitrary doses for HGH. I think they just pulled them straight out of their asses. It probably had more to do with dudes just couldn't afford any more HGH, and all these bro myths and legends were born about acromegaly and all these other crazy side effects happen that are just, I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of merit or truth in any of it. I do run insulin on the high days for now. I run Humalog on the high days only. And as I get deeper in prep, my insulin sensitivity gets better. I find that I can't run insulin when I get deeper in prep, and I have to drop it because I end up going hypo, even with the high carb days where I'm eating 1,000 grams of carbs. No fat burners for now. Probably add those in somewhere around 10 to 12 weeks out. Last year, I went very light on the fat burners. I think I maxed out on clenbuterol at 60 micrograms, which is a very low dose. I know bikini competitors run more than that. And I dropped the ephedrine, the ECY stack, like the last month. I didn't even use it. I was just running a little bit of clenbuterol, and that was it. And that was plenty enough to get me lean. I feel like if I run the fat burners too much, it's a fine line to walk. You end up flattening out. Then it affects your sleep and you have a fatigued look. So run the appropriate dose. Like, people want to have a set cycle going into their contest prep. There's no really way to say what the cycle is going to be. I have a framework that I run by for myself, but I listen to my body and adjust based on how my body is responding. If I'm getting leaner and I don't need to throw more fat burners at it and stimulants, why would I throw more? Because they're going to negatively affect my physique. I think by flattening me out, they are going to negatively affect my sleep, causing fatigue to build up. So why would I run more if I don't need to of those? I'll let the anabolics do their work. Current health supplements. People were very curious about my supplements. I probably need to do an updated video on my supplements. For glucose management, I use 1,500 milligrams of berberine on high days. I use the suppressor Max by First Detachment Nutrition. If you want to head over to First Detachment and pick it up, it is a quality product. You can get it for 10% off with my discount code of AB10. There's a link in the video description below. General health, I run a whole food multivitamin twice a day. People always get concerned about micronutrients because they don't see me eating a lot of vegetables. I don't eat a ton of vegetables because I don't digest them well. They really screw up my stomach. I can have some, but I want to make sure my digestion is optimized. And really, it's the micronutrients from the vegetables that you want. So you can take a multivitamin to supplement for that, or use a whole greens powder. Sometimes I do both, and the fiber. And I supplement at the end of the day with a fiber supplement. I use Metamucil at the end of the day to make sure I'm getting adequate amount of fiber in. So whole food vitamin twice a day, 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C, 5,000 units of vitamin D. For cardiovascular health, this is my stack. For cardiovascular health is 3,000 milligrams of fish oil per day, 2,000 milligrams of flax. I run CoQ10, citrus bergamot, and red rice yeast extract. The citrus bergamot and red rice yeast are for lipid management. And guys, this is something I want to touch on, and this frustrates the crap out of me, is dudes running diets with high saturated fats. And I know there's going to be some people that are going to get upset when I tell them this. You are rolling the freaking dice when you take PEDs and you have a diet high in saturated fats. I'm telling you, you're rolling the dice, because a lot of times people have high blood pressure on top of it, and the PEDs are going to cause further lipid skewing, and then you're loading up on saturated fats and you're rolling the dice. So I supplement in EFAs. I try to keep my saturated fats as low as humanly possible. People always ask about hormone production. What hormones? I'm getting my hormone from a 3cc needle. I don't need to make hormones. And it only takes a few grams of fat to make all the cholesterol you need to make the hormones that your body needs. I have never seen anybody in blood panels that I have looked at that are deficient in cholesterol. And cholesterol is the precursor to all steroidal hormones. I have yet to see one person that doesn't have enough cholesterol on the blood panel. If you do, send me your blood panel. I'd love to see it. I just haven't seen anybody that is deficient in cholesterol at this point in my life. If anything, most people are over consuming fats. Most people have cholesterol that is too high. Now, the caveat here is high cholesterol doesn't mean that you're going to have cardiovascular disease, but people with cardiovascular disease tend to have high cholesterol. So there is a correlative risk associated with it. So just be smart. If you're taking PEDs, you might want to consider keeping your saturated fats lower, supplementing to help manage cardiovascular health and prevent plaque buildup. And, just be smart about your approach to things. All right, liver, milk thistle, and tuck. I haven't been running NAC. I found that NAC upsets my stomach, so I save it for when I need it. If my liver enzymes get high towards the end of prep because of running orals, then I'll throw some NAC in. But NAC, I have a very sensitive stomach, and NAC seems to screw up my stomach. For kidney health, I run Renal Reset, which primary ingredient is astragalus from First Detachment Nutrition. You can also pick that up at First Detachment. Discount code is AB10. Link is in the video description below. For digestion, I run ox bile on high days, digestive enzymes, and psyllium husk fiber. On the high days, I will throw in some digestive enzymes. Another thing I want to touch on, if you look at the digestive enzyme pills that you buy online, most of them are broad spectrum. You may want to pick up ones that help you deal with the issues that you're having. So, for example, I do not digest fats very well. If I eat a high-fat meal, I look out. I'm going to be in trouble. I'm going to have digestive issues. So, if I have a high-fat cheat meal, I have lipase that I will take. Look at the dosing, too. Most people will just take one pill. If you look at the dosing on the back of it, one pill is generally not enough of digestive enzymes. You'll have to take a handful of them. I think the ones that I use, it's like one pill is for like 5 grams of fat or something like that. So if you're eating a 50-gram fat meal, you might need 10 of them, but just look at the dosing before you use the digestive enzymes. RX meds right now, the only thing I'm on is telmisartan, 40 milligrams. I've run higher in the past. I was running the Bivol in the off season. I dropped the beta blockers during contest prep because they do inhibit fat loss. If you need them, I'm not saying that you shouldn't take them. If your doctor prescribes it to you, says you need it, listen to your doctor. Don't listen to me. I'm a stupid bodybuilder. Training, I do a Renaissance periodization style of training. It's not exactly Renaissance periodization, but it's a Renaissance periodization inspired type of training. My split right now, I train 6 days a week. It is sort of a PPL style of split. I do chest and tries on day 1. The reason why I don't have shoulders in there together is because my chest and my shoulders are both beat up. And I'm trying to limit the amount of volume that I'm throwing at them. So I'm sort of running slightly above minimum effective volume, I guess I would say, on chest and shoulders, doing what I can. So chest and tries on day 1, quads, and usually quads and hams and calves on day 2. Pull, I do horizontal pulling movements in one workout for back. I don't know. Is there any advantage to doing it that way? I don't know. It's just the way I do it. There's no logic behind it. Delts and tries, I do those together. Then legs, on that, the second leg workout, it tends to be hamstring focused and adductor focused. Then a vertical pulling day, and I take a day off. Rep scheme right now, I go to what I consider mechanical failure, maybe 1 or 2 reps in reserve, sometimes 0, just really depends. Like, for example, on cable curls, do you really need to keep a rep in reserve on cable curls? I don't think you're going to push yourself so hard that you're going to accumulate fatigue from doing cable curls. If I'm doing a heavy leg press or a heavy hack squat, then I'll keep 1 or 2 reps in the tank because I don't want to blow my fatigue out. And remember, during contest prep, the goal right now, I am not going to gain muscle right now. I'm 50 years old. I love these people that talk about gaining into the show. I mean, there's been like 3 people in the history of bodybuilding that have been able to do that. And one of them was Kevin Levrone. Paul Barnett isn't one of those guys. The goal right now during contest prep is to maintain what muscle I have and to lose fat and not get hurt. Those are my 3 objectives during contest prep. So right now is not the time to be progressing weights, at least in my opinion. I'm trying to maintain. Do I need to go to absolute failure to maintain? Nope. Do I need to do a maximum recoverable volume to maintain? Nope. So last year I was much better about managing fatigue going into my show. And a lot of times towards the end, I'll pull down volume a bit and keep reps in reserve. It was interesting talking to Wesley Vissers about it this week. He does the exact same thing. As long as my strength is maintaining, I feel like I am in a good spot. You are going to lose some reps and stuff, but as long as I don't see a dramatic drop in weights, I know that I haven't lost muscle at that point. Cardio is 4 times 12 minutes of HIIT sessions per week. I am trying to squeeze in some walking here and there. Justin is assigning step counts this year, so he has me doing 40,000 steps a week. I don't know. I just get up and walk. I'm not really counting them, to be honest with you. I'll crank up the amount of walking that I do. But I think last year I maxed out about 30 minutes a day of walking. And then I dropped the HIIT cardio somewhere around halfway in between. I don't need a ton of cardio to get in shape. I just never have. If I need to push more, I will. Plans and thoughts. Diet adherence. I missed 1 meal on Easter. I just got caught out at my parents'. I was traveling. I didn't have enough food with me. And I figured it was better to just skip a meal than it was to eat like shit. Usually if I get caught out, I'll try to find a shitty protein shake at a gas station somewhere, or maybe eat a banana if I'm traveling. Really on contest prep, you, especially at the level of competition that I am at, you need to be damn near perfect with everything. It bothers me that I missed that meal, but other than that, everything else was perfect this week. I try to be as perfect as possible, weigh everything down to the exact gram. Details matter at this point. In the off season, not as much. You can have some slack on the amount of food you eat. Weighing your rice down to the exact grain of rice doesn't really matter. Justin's feedback, my coach's feedback this week. He said my body comp looked improved from last week. We will be ramping things up at 12 weeks out. I explained that earlier. I'm planning on 2 shows this year, Masters Nationals, July 18th. And my backup show is North Americans at the end of August. If I would happen to be fortunate enough to get a pro card at Masters Nationals on July 18th, then I would not do North Americans at the end of August. I'm not making any assumptions. I try not to go into shows with expectations. I've found that when people go into shows with expectations, they end up disappointed. I'm just there to have fun. I love being around the other guys, the competitors. I always enjoy meeting people. And I want to put my best effort on stage. The only person I'm competing against is myself. I want to be the best version of myself that I possibly can be. And if I do that, then whatever happens, happens. That's the way I look at it. I don't have any expectations on placements. If I place well, I'll consider myself fortunate. If I don't, then it is what it is. I'm just doing this for fun. I have no aspirations of being Mr. Olympia at this point in my life. That ship has set sail. All right, folks, that's all I got for you on this one. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Thank you for all your support. For coaching or consultations, head over to www.anabolicbodybuilding.com to book your spot today. I can help you with optimizing hormones, fat loss, muscle gain, physique, athletic performance, nutrition, and health. For more information, shoot me an email at bigp3rd@gmail.com.